Alright guys, we are back for more of my 27th birthday special. We just played some Super Mario Galaxy for the Nintendo Wii, and that was a whole lot of fun. So, for our next segment, we are going to be playing Sonic Rider Zero Gravity for the Nintendo Wii. Let's see how well we do on this game.
Sega.
Alright, so let's of course choose my file. Let's go into the game start. Alright, so anyways, we're going to go to normal race, and we'll just do some free races. So, we're going to start things off at the Megalo Station. I'll of course play a Sonic, and we'll use some different extreme gears throughout each race for the segment. So anyways, we're going to start things off by using the blue star. Alright, let's do it.
Bring it on!
I got a pretty good start.
See ya!
There's an X-Ray truck right off the bat. I'll certainly take that. I got max speed up. Come on, get out of my way. Alright, let's spread out the gravity dive. Alright, on to lap number 2. Alright, now we have the grind. I'm in the grass. That's not good. Now we'll go hop on the rail. Alright, let's move on to the final lap. Alright, we'll hop on this rail now. Alright, I'll take some additional speed. Alright, hop on this rail again here. And Knuckles is gonna come in first place. But not a bad finish for us right there to start off, as we ended up coming in 4th. Alright, Alright, now it's time to go into the next race. Alright, so we're gonna head over to Nightside Rush now. And let's go and use the fastest this time.
Alright, bring it on!
Alright, here we go. That's another good start. And we got a next right track. Alright, let's get ready to bring out the gravity dive right here. Alright, there's the 100 rings. So we're gonna get a max speed up. Alright, I'll take 10 rings. Oh, my buddy Tails is right behind me here. Alright, on to lap 2. I got the grind. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and hop on this rail. Alright, a double asteroid trick. That's very nice. Alright, 20 rings. Oh boy, Tails just passed me right there for the lead, and Cream passed me for second as well. This is a pretty close battle that we have going on right here for the lead. At 30 rings, and now it's on to the final lap. There's our max speed up. Got that turbulence over here to help me out for this turn. Alright, let's go grinding on the rail again. Yeah, baby! Got an X-ray track. Oh boy, Tails is trying to get away from me again. This might get pretty intense from here as we make our way down the final straightaway. Well, we were close right there to the win, but Tails ended up coming in first. But at least we did better in this race as we ended up coming in second. Alright, let's go into the next race now. Alright, so now we're going to head over to the Botanical Kingdom. And let's go ahead and use the wind star for this one.
Alright, bring it on!
Alright, let's see what happens here. Another good start. There's an X-ray trick already. And we got an air ride. Let's go and bring that out. Alright, back speed up. Alright, let's bring out a gravity dive here. Alright, on lap 2. Got a double aspect trick right there on that. Alright, now we're gonna go flying through some rings. Alright, there's 10 rings, and we got a yacht! Alright, time to see what happens on the final lap. From what I can tell on the map, I got a very big lead ahead of the pack. So I think we should be in very good shape to try to win this race. Alright, let's fly through the rings again. Oh, now we get the low speed. Gosh dang it. I can't even use my gravity control while that's going on right here. That's a bummer. But thankfully we are still in first place and we are approaching the finish line as we get ready to use another gravity dive. Alright! First place is mine! That really helped right there of how far ahead we were compared to everybody else. In fact, we won that race by around 12.5 seconds over Shadow. So that was certainly very fantastic. Alright, anyways, off to the Snowy Kingdom for the next race. And we're going to use the Road Star for this one.
Alright, bring it on!
Alright, let's go. Alright, another very good start. Alright, there's an X-Strike trick. I got bomb. There's a special move! So we can go through this shortcut right here. Alright, time to grab onto this vine. Alright, let's go hit the snowman now with the gravity dive. Alright, lap 2. Oh, another X-ray trick right there. How about that? Alright, now we have a bike. Oh, another special move. That's awesome. Alright, we'll go ahead and bounce on those springs. And another special move right there as well. That is incredible. So we're going to be able to go for the shortcut again. This will totally help us out, especially because I'm in last place right now. We already got some catching up to do. As you guys may know, I'm just not really all that good when it comes to this track a lot of the time. So I usually just end up with a very poor finish because of it here. But I'm still trying all I can right here to see if I can possibly get myself a good finish right here. You just never know. Alright, final lap. According to what I've seen on the map, I don't really think I'm going to have any good chance right here to try to catch up with everyone. Alright, at least we can now punch some obstacles since we do have a bike with us right now. And another special move right here once again. So, literally all 3 laps we are able to take the shortcut. Now we have a starting speed up. I believe Wave was the one that came in first from what I saw. Alright, let's speed our way to the finish line of this gravity dive. And we unfortunately end up in dead last. Like I was saying, there's nothing much I could really do right here on this track, all because of how terrible I am at it a whole lot of the time. But it is what it is. Alright, let's see if we can do better here in this next race. Alright, so now we're going to head off to Mediatek premises. And for my next extreme gear, let's bring out the GP accumulator. Alright, let's do it. Another good start. We are going to get an X-ray trick right there. I got an air ride. Couldn't quite fly through any of those rings right there, but that is okay. At least it's early though in the race. Dang it, I just missed that item. Alright, let's go ahead and use this gravity dive here. I'm on the lap 2. I got a GP gain up now. And there's a double S right trick. Alright, there we go. Now we're going to be able to fly through these rings. I'll gladly take 20 rings. And we got a GP gauge up. I just took the lead right there from Amy. But now we are about to head to the final lap as Amy just got the lead back so quickly. But this ain't over yet. I'm going to give it all I got. I have double S right trick. Dang it, I just ran right into that gear after I missed one of the rings I was trying to go through during my job. Oh well. I'm worried that that little mistake out there is going to cost me this win. But we'll just have to see what happens as we're going to approach that final turn here in a moment. Yeah, it looks like Amy's got this. But we'll settle for second place. It's still pretty good nonetheless. Okay, on to the next race now. And we're going to head off to MediaTek Sparkworks. Alright, let's go ahead and use the reserve tank now.
Bring it on!
Alright, let's see what we do on this one. Alright, that's a good start. Oh boy, already we get a collar trap right at the start of this race. We do have one of our tanks, right? Let's make sure we put those to good use. That's a very sweet X-ray trick move that we just did. Alright, anyways, we'll go for the shortcut by punching those obstacles. And we'll go ahead and use my first tank right here. And already I do have another one ready to go. But it's definitely more appropriate that we gotta wait till later to use it. Alright, let's go to lap 2. Yeah, baby! There's another X-ray trick. We're looking good out there so far in this race. Let's keep it up. This time we get a double S-ray trick. Alright, now we'll use another tank here. And my last one is ready. Just like before, we'll wait till later to use that. Alright, final out. Alright, we'll go ahead and use our last tank right there. Alright, S-Strike track. Missed a few of those obstacles right there, but it doesn't really matter too much about that. We're at full GP anyway. Okay, 10 rings. Alright, it's time to make our way to that finish line with this gravity dive. And we're gonna pull off the win in first place! That's what I'm talking about. We are very far ahead right here at the end of that race as we won by 15 seconds over Rouge. Alright, let's see how well we do in this next race. Alright, time to head off to the aquatic capital. And for the next extreme gear, we're going to go ahead and use the wind catcher.
Alright, bring it on!
Alright, let's go. That's another nice start. We do get an X-Strike trick. Oh man, we get a collar trap right there at the start of that race. It's much like what happened in the previous one. Alright, we do get a GP gauge up. Our X-Strike trick, and we're going down a water slide now. Alright, let's use that gravity dive right here. And we're going to go ahead and fly through those rings. Alright, lap 2. Alright, there's our GP gauge up, and we just got a double S-Strike trick. Alright, we got our last GP gauge up, ready to go. Alright, fly through the rings again. Alright, on to the final lap. It's pretty close right now between me and Amy for the lead. There's 10 rings. Let's go double S-Strike trick. Alright, we're gonna go flying through the rings once more as we make our way to the finish line. Alright! Got the win right there in first place! Okay, so anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next race. And now it's off to the Tempest Waterway. And for this one, let's go and use the Shinobi skates.
Alright, bring it on!
Alright, here we go. There's another good start once again. I just missed the first jump. I got an X rank trick. And we got a double S rank trick there. A double A rank trick. And now we're grinding on this rail. Okay, there's 10 rings. I got the 100 rings over there, and we just got an all wall run. Alright, let's go down this water slide now. And we're gonna go ahead and use this gravity dive here. Oh yeah, just barely got on that rail right there. That was pretty lucky. Alright, time to go to lap 2. Oh, again I missed that jump. Alright, there's next right trick, and we now have the ghost. I'll use that in a bit right here after I grind on this rail. There we go. Now nobody can see me out there on the map. Ah, I missed that jump there, but that's okay. Okay, why didn't that all wall one work right here? Maybe I was not at a certain spot near that wall. I think that was probably what's up. I got an X-ray trick.